coffee is so delicious. It's so good. I love it so much. It even smells amazing. There's just something about coffee. Like anytime I go out and I'm like gone for a long time away from home, or I'm out shopping or doing anything strenuous, that one thing goes off in your brain and you know that you're done is when your brain goes, I need coffee. You need it. You need coffee. And then I'm like, I need coffee. I have to go home. I need coffee. If I don't have coffee, I'm not going to make it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like how you wake up every Monday. You're just like, no, it's Monday. I'm not going to survive this until you get coffee. And then here we are, together, forever. Friends, it's friendship, friendship. That's a perfect blendship. You know what I mean? So this week, I'm going to be talking about pinup and pinup related things. So if you guys have been interested in or want to learn more about my pinup journey and how I found it and maybe you know, feel free to keep watching because I'm going to talk about things. I'm going to put this down. So I figured I would kind of talk about pinup and then I would, I don't know, tie some type of meaning of life into it somewhere. I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but we're going to do that. And in honor of me talking about pinup, my pinup journey, I am wearing the first top I ever bought that was pinup inspired. Polka dots naturally, because you're not a pinup if you don't have polka dots. And this is also the shirt that I did my first photo shoot in, so it's kind of lucky. I'm not really sure how I still fit in it, but I do, and it's still one of my favorites. That's kind of funny. When I first got into pinup, I discovered rockabilly. I discovered the rockabilly scene, and I fell in love with that. And then I discovered that there was a thing called modern day pinup, and it was women embracing all of the amazing things that I kind of had fed on and grown up with, living with my grandma. And it kind of just reached in and it touched my soul. And I think it's funny how, like, no matter what, any girl who starts out in like pinup or vintage, the first thing we all start buying is polka dots. Am I right? Like, it's a joke. It's a joke in the scene. For people when they're trying to talk crap about new girls in the scene, it's like, can you wear something other than polka dots? And it's like, the polka dots are awesome. Like, can we not agree that polka dots are so awesome that, I mean, naturally, if it comes in a polka dot print, I'm going to buy it. That's just factual. It's like a dress that has pockets. If a dress has pockets, you'll have to buy it. You know what I mean? You can't leave a dress behind that has pockets. A lot of people's, like, probably the main question that I get is always, how did you get into pinup? And I mean, of course, there's this long drawn out story that I've told probably more than my fair share of times. But basically what it comes down to is I found a culture, a subculture of people that embraced a style and an essence that I had fed on my whole life. I grew up with my grandma, and, I grew up watching Judy Garland and Doris Day and, all of those iconic film stars. And my favorite part always was how they dressed, how they had their hair done, how tiny their heels always looked. Like, they all look like they had these tiny little feet. Like, they always had these delicate feet in their heels, which fascinated me. And I always liked how a lot of them, there was always those different personalities. Like, it wasn't one type of woman. You had all these different women, these actresses portraying parts of all these different types of women, the sassy ones and the bitchy ones and the friendly ones. And, you have all these different personalities and all these beautiful women. And it was just fascinating to watch because I was very sheltered and I didn't have friends, and it was kind of how I watched anybody socializing and doing things. I fed off of old movies and the A-Team and the Rockford Files mostly, but I mean, hashtag homeschooled life. I didn't discover pinup. Pinup, when I got into pinup wasn't pinup, it was rockabilly. There was girls who did pinup shoots and embraced, the pinup style and did pinup work, but it wasn't, that they all did the same things that we do now. Like, there was really no difference. But there wasn't this this like very dominant group. Like pinup is almost its own subculture through rockabilly now, if that makes sense. In my opinion, of course. I've always gotten in trouble in this scene by giving my opinion on this scene. Because I don't know when you cross over from like newbie poser pinup to official, you can claim to be a pinup, you can claim to be rockabilly. I'm not sure where that transition happens. I know that I've just gotten in trouble for it like my entire existence in the scene. There's always somebody talking crap, so that doesn't change. Okay? No. The only thing that you can change is how you deal with it. And that's basically what I learned a couple years ago. But pinup is definitely a dominant thing, and it's very bold in its own right, and it's gained this following of women that, you know, they have something to say. They want to make a change. They want to empower. They want to love and help others. You know, pinup has created this entire tornado of positivity, but sadly, of course, you always have your bad eggs in the group, and we've all run into them. We've all run into people in the pinup scene where you're like, why are you here though? Like, we represent something that you clearly do not want to embrace by how freaking just rude and mean and catty you are. Like, why are you here? But, you know, everybody is allowed to enjoy and be a part of things, and I would never be the one that would be like, you can't be here because you're a bitch. But we have to allow them to, you know, we all have to cohabitate. It is what it is. You can't just like kick out the bitches. If that was the case, everything would be better. But you have to have some salty bitches because you have to have a little flavor and everything. I'm just carrying on for the sake of carrying on. In all honesty, it's crap. There's so many negative aspects that you could focus on that almost ruined pinup for me, or you know, you could just see it for what it is for you. And that's where I'm at in my pinup, is I've come a long way. You know, when I first started out, there wasn't a lot of what there is now. Social media was kind of, Facebook and Instagram was kind of just becoming a big thing. And I didn't have Facebook until I made a Facebook so I could start my pinup page. Like, that's why I started a Facebook, not because I knew anything about it, but just because I thought that was the cool thing to do. So I was like, if I don't have a page on Facebook, nobody's ever going to know me as a pinup. So I studied pinup and rockabilly and everything about it, from past histories and you know, where it started to the big names that kept it going. And I was just constantly filling my brain with all of this history and information because I loved it. It was the first thing I'd ever discovered, you know, by myself, that gave me a sense of self and a sense of purpose and a sense of direction. And I wanted to know everything about it. So that's what I did from, you know, 16 to I was 21 when I first started doing my pinup work. And I've told that story a million times. You know, everybody's like, how did you start? I was like, I just did it. I just was like, hey, I like that. I want to do it. So I studied it. I understood. I wanted to be respectful. And it wasn't even just that I wanted to be respectful. It was that I truly had a passion. I had this hunger for it, that I just wanted to know, what was this? It gave me such a spark, such a fire that I had never felt before. I had to follow it. But I was scared. I was a homeschooled loner that, you know, the biggest extent of my social interacting was when my mom had to go to the grocery store once a week and I would go with her so I could buy all the magazines of outside life that I fed off of. You know, I didn't have, you know, friends or anything like that. So I discovered this thing that gave me the first feeling of real passion ever. And I was terrified to embrace it because everything that pinup is and everything that pinup exudes and everything that rockabilly is was opposite of who I was my whole life. But then I had to ask myself, but is it opposite? are you even yourself? Do you even know who yourself is? And at that point, I was a freaking baby. I was 17 years old, 16, 17 years old. Like, there's no. So I discovered this thing that I just kind of fell in love with. And for a lot of years, I studied it. And then when I first started really interacting in the scene, I just took some pictures of myself. I took some pictures of myself in my house. I've told the story before. I set my camera up on some blocks on the top of my kid's walker, and I set the self timer, and I ran to pose, and those are the pictures that I started my page with. And then I just started networking. I spent a lot of time networking my name. The Vintage Doll started out as an email address. I needed to change my California Cali Girl 247 OG to a different email because I lived in Oklahoma now, and I was this new girl living in a new world, and I had this crazy obsession with something bold and exciting. So I created my email back when I was a teenager, and that was the Vintage Doll. And when it came time for me to make a page and I had to have this pinup name, I was like, well, my name doesn't rhyme with anything cool. Like, I'm not like, Debbie Danger or, Vivacious Vicky, or I didn't have anything cool. And at the time, like, girls had all these really cool, unique names, and I wanted something like that. But Emily was just like, it's just Emily. It wasn't, I didn't think it was this thing that I needed to use. It was like, this is not me. This is not my pinup persona. And I thought about it, and I was like, well, it needs to be something that, defines me. It represents me. What represents me? And that was the word doll. Doll is a common usage in the scene that we're in. Everybody's a doll. It's not something you can trademark. Like, it's just what we refer to each other as. It's a tagline in our subculture. And I was like, well, everybody's calls me a doll. Like, no matter where I go, porcelain doll, China doll, not Chinese. Just everything doll. You look like a doll. You look like a real doll. You look like one of them glass dolls. You look like a China doll. Like, just all doll. So I was like, okay, well, what can I put with that? And I was like, well, I love vintage. I love all things vintage. I have this new passion. So the Vintage Doll was the name that I created for my pinup self. And it's been what I've been building now for over a decade. And by build, I mean, that's what I've done for over a freaking decade. I've been networking and branding and building this name, this platform that has worth, it has substance, it has, people want to be a part of it. And it's not just because I have likes. A lot of people would say, well, I mean, you have a lot of likes. Well, the reason I have those likes is because what I represent. It's what I put out into the world, and people like it. So they follow it, and they want to be a part of it. And it means something. The Vintage Doll started out as me, just me wanting to be a pinup model, but it's quickly turned in to, this brand that stands for something. It represents something. And sometimes I get really protective over it because the Vintage Doll wasn't a used name until I kind of came into the industry. And if I'm totally wrong about that, I mean, please feel free to confront me about it. But I mean, the word doll was used. Vintage, yes. The term, vintage dolls, that's kind of become a thing. A lot of people are doing, different shops, and it's a tagline for other models. They'll have their name, and then they'll use a vintage doll, the Vintage Doll. So it's caught on, and it was caught on, I would like to think, for more than just because it's a creative name. People want to be a part of my brand because they like what it consists of. I try to not just be, the obvious things. Like, I could just be a pinup model, or I could just be a beauty blogger, but that would just be scratching the surface of who I am and who I feel like, I'm putting out there for the world to participate with, So I do talk about more and I do more and I help people more. I mentor so many people online, and that's not even something that I talk about a lot. But I mentor a lot of people, not just in pinup, but in all kinds of different things when they email me, and I have great relationships with people that I've talked with for a long time. But all of that was because of pinup. It was because of rockabilly. It was because this scene, what it is, what it stood for, um, it gave me this giant piece of myself that I didn't know yet. And because I found that piece, I also feel like, I found the path that I'm supposed to be on. And I'm still trying to figure out what all I'm going to do, with my pinup work. But the vintage doll, Emily Doll, is not just, oh, that's a pinup model. No, that's a girl that wants to make changes. She wants to teach other girls that they're powerful and strong and brave and beautiful. She wants to help support small businesses who are trying to live their dreams and take care of their families, or help raise money for this cause, or show up to this car show to benefit this person, or there's so much more to it. Write a blog talking about something horrible that I went through and inspire somebody else to get through the same thing. Pinup has given me this voice, this strength, this confidence that I didn't have before. And I really don't think that I would be able to do the things that I do if I wasn't the vintage doll first. And everyone's journey is different. And if you want to be a pinup model, be a pinup model. If you want to just do pinup for a hobby, just do it for a hobby. If you want to, just love it because you love it and dress up sometimes, do that. There's going to be a whole bunch of people that are going to be like, no, you can't. Sorry. This is ours. This is ours, and you're not allowed to be here because you're a poser and you're in polka dots. That's not how it works. There's going to be people everywhere that tell you that you can't, and that's one of probably the second most email topic that I get is that, Emily Doll, I love your style. I love what you do. I love how open you are and how you embrace yourself and how confident you are. And while I'm reading all this stuff, I'm thinking, I'm so glad that this is what people think that I am, because I don't ever feel this way. So just to let you guys know, you inspire me daily with your encouraging words of what I am and what I do for you. So thank you for that. But then it always goes into, I could never do that. I could never dress that way, or dye my hair that color, or wear that colored lipstick, or, do my hair in big victory rolls, or wear a wiggle dress, or I couldn't do that. And there's usually a number of reasons. It's either, a spouse that doesn't support, or which I've had in the past 100%. That it's a job that doesn't allow you to dress the way you want. You live in a small town. I get that one a lot. I live in a small town. People are going to judge me. I live in a small town. Like, I'm originally from California, but I didn't discover pinup and rockabilly till I moved to Oklahoma, which is Oklahoma. And now I live in a tiny town in Texas. And most people in Oklahoma City, which is a pretty big city, didn't know how to take how I looked. So here, when I'm going into like the local dairy farm, or I'm going up to like the local snow cone shop, and I look the way I do, it can be different. You know what I mean? It can be kind of different, and people don't always know how to take it. But that's not for you to worry about. Like, if I worried about what everybody thought about me, I would never be able to grasp any of my own self-awareness or my own opinions, because I'm all over the internet. I have people judging me and picking me apart daily because, apparently if you put yourself out there on the internet, you're fair game to any jerk who wants to talk shit about you, which is ridiculous, but it's the reality of it. And there's always going to be people judging you, and there's always going to be people out there who are like, I don't understand why you're the way you are. okay, like, that's not your job to teach them. Like, if they want to genuinely get to know who you are as a person and then decide they don't like you, then you can also then decide to not have them in your life. But until somebody takes the time to get to know you, they don't get to judge you just because your style isn't the norm for 2018. And I am sorry, but retro style and vintage style is definitely not the craziest thing people wear out into public. Like, for real. So I guess in closing, my point is that pinup is an amazing thing for any woman, I think, to take part in, whether you want to do it seriously like me or if you want to just do it for fun. It's something that teaches every woman that kind of dips her toes in it. It allows them to see and really feel their true beauty, their true sexuality, their true, self-awareness, their true, self-worth. It's this thing that's just chocked full of positive vibes, really. And it taught me a lot about myself. It's definitely one of my biggest defining characteristics. And it's like, well, everybody's a pinup. That doesn't define you, but it does. It does, because until I found pinup, I couldn't define myself. And pinup is one of the things that makes me who I am. And I don't mean because I look different or I dress different or, I dress more wild or loud than other people. No, I mean because it's taught me things about me. It's taught me things that matter. I mean, yeah, I love style. I love, the clothes and the hair and the shoes and the makeup, and I love all of it. I mean, that's just a part of my creative, juice. But pinup and what pinup is, and I think what pinup continues to carry from when it was, first put on the map till now, is that it teaches and it's empowering women. It's giving us that control over ourselves. And I'll always be thankful for that. And I think that for anyone trying to get into pinup, it's going to be discouraging at a lot of times. Like, I've almost given up doing what I love many times. And you got to take it for what it is. Like, people suck. People are always going to try and tell you can't do it, or they don't want you to do it, or you're not good enough for it. You know how many people told me I was too skinny to be a pinup? Like, for the first several years I was creating my brand, the Vintage Dolls Body and Self-Love Walk was a huge share on my page. And I created that because when I first got into pinup, every picture I posted, I was tore apart for being how thin I am. And I was told multiple times daily that I couldn't be a pinup because I was too skinny. And now I look back at that stuff and I'm like, oh, you're so precious. You don't know anything that you're talking about. Why are you here? Here's a cookie. I'm gonna eat it myself because I'm too skinny. I'm gonna die. It's just all this stupid crap that people are always gonna throw at you. And you can do one of two things. You can either listen to them and give up on what you love, or you can tell them to kick rocks and go do what you want, because that's what they're doing. It's such a silly concept to care more about what other people think and want for you than what you think and want for you, because the people who are usually like bossing people around and judging people and telling them how they should and shouldn't be are usually, the people that are too selfish to step outside themselves for anyone. So they're probably very happy in doing what they want. So why shouldn't you? And on a more positive level, and help other people do that. I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point. You guys know how I am. Do you guys like my cup? Monday Coffee with the Doll. If you guys want one of these cups, you can get one from my friends Forever Above Me. Their link is below. I love my cups. It makes me feel like I have something from what I'm working so hard towards. It's like I have Monday coffee with the doll. It's a big part of my life. And now I have a cup that I get to actually physically hold. And it's just really cool. It's like having your face on lip gloss. It's crazy cool. Do you know what I mean? No matter what you choose in life, whether it be pinup or something else, you know, you have a right to explore that interest. You have a right to explore that passion, and you have a right to see what it's going to bring into your life and how it's going to help you grow in your own journey. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to stop you from, you know, walking down that road for whatever their own reasons are, whether they're scared, whether they don't understand it, whether it's not for them. But you're not on their path, you're on yours. And it can be really hard to, you know, embrace that kind of stuff and go after that. And everything that you guys email me and how you tell me, you know, I can't do this, or I wish I could, or I could never. I said all of those things. I still say them in different areas, and sometimes even this one. Oh, I could never do that. Like, that's awesome and I love it, but there's no way in the world I could ever do that myself. You know, I'm still working towards getting some of that negative out of myself and how I handle things. But if you want to chase after a dream, that's what you were created to do. You're created to go out and live and explore and learn. And allowing other people to put you in a box is not, I mean, like, is there Netflix in the box? Is there popcorn in the box? Can I order pizza to this box? Because I don't think I can. And if that's the case, I don't want to be in this box. You want to be in that box? You want to be in a box with no pizza? I don't. That sounds like hell to me. That's right. It sounds straight up like the devil's home. But sure, it can be hard. It can be scary. And that's also a part of life. You know, things are going to be challenging and things are going to be scary. But we still have to do them. We still have to try. We still have to, you know, at least attempt before we say, okay, maybe this wasn't for me, or okay, maybe I want to go in a different direction. Because living with regret sounds way worse than dealing with maybe some other people that are upset with your life choices, even though your life choices have nothing to do with them or affect them in any way, shape, or form. But I mean, this is planet Earth, and people are literally born to be offended at this point, if you know what I'm saying. Do you guys like my lipstick? I figured that I would start sharing like what lipstick I wear every Monday coffee. And this one is by We.Makeup. I'll put the link below. But it's super, super comfy. I love it. Wah, wah, wah. See that? Wah. Nothing. Super comfortable. I love it. It's in So that's it for this week. That's what I'm talking about. I hope that it was interesting for you. It was interesting for me. Until next week, I hope that you guys are enjoying Monday Coffee. It seems to be getting really good feedback. I appreciate all the love and the shares that you guys have been doing. Just keep sharing, keep subscribing. It definitely is helping me keep pushing in the right direction. I appreciate every single one of you that are here with me every day. But remember, these are the days that fill your week. Make them amazing. Bye.